canvas, but if you want to do this, you can adjust it to whatever size. Super simple. It's just a rectangle, long, skinny rectangle. Now, if you are a member of the Shattered Circle, as always, you will get this tracer and supply list in the Shattered Circle on the Gods. And so never fear, Geneva lost a diamond out of a ring at church a year later. Oh, no way. I'm not giving up hope then. I will not give up hope. Oh, Christine, I'm so sorry. Sorry you have COVID. Honey, I feel you. I've had it several times myself, and it is never good. Never good. Some of y'all remember when I had COVID so bad. I lost like 13 pounds in 2 weeks. So I'm going to put this, I'm going to write this canvas size down on here and just tape it down on here so I don't have to keep repeating. Just keep in mind that, thank you for the sprinkles, guys. Keep in mind that you can adjust this to your canvas size. This is an odd size canvas. So keep in mind that you can just adjust it. Okay, so what I'm gonna start with is my background, okay? We are, messed your hair up, mine and yours both, sister. We are gonna trace this on after we do our background, but we're gonna do a little bit of a blue, and then we're gonna swirl in, thank you, Elaine, a little bit of gold right around where that flame is gonna go, just like it's glowing. So let's just go ahead and get started. What did I do with my blue? You know I gotta have my blue, and I left it over here. So let me grab it. Just grab any old blue. This is called Waterfall. So we're gonna use Waterfall, and we're gonna use some white. Hey, will you do me a favor? All the paintbrushes that are on the sink, I meant to bring them in here with me and forgot. Can you grab those for me? Okay, so I am going to just grab a bigger brush. This is like a 3/4 inch, I believe. And I'm gonna add some white to my canvas, like I always do. I like to add white first so I can make that blue color really faint and blendy. So we're just gonna add a little bit of white. We're gonna brush that in all over. And I'm going to do it rather quickly because I do want to add my blue while my, thank you so much, put them right there. Thank you so much. I do want to add my blue while my white is still wet, so I'm not going to be dainty and gingerly about it. I'm going to get my white on, and as usual, I have way too much. Would y'all be shocked if I didn't? Because I always seem to have too much. I get a little excited, I guess, and I'm gonna get it back in there because I used to just wipe it off and on a paper towel, but now I'm like hoarding paint. I'm a little paint hoarder. Let's get it back in there, use it next time. So, yeah, my sisters told me after when I got these earrings, I needed to get locking backs because she has locking backs on hers. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I should do that. And of course, do you think I did it? No, obviously I didn't because my earring is lost. So my paint is wet. So while that's wet, I'm just going to grab up a little bit of this waterfall color. And I'm just going to add a couple of dots here and there. One here, one there. And we're just going to blend that in to the, trying to get your paint back in the tubes, I'll tell you. We're going to just blend this in. And I'm just going to go kind of messy, just make X's and crisscross. I do like it to be organic and not like straight up and down lines. I do want it to have a little bit of highs and lows, lights and darks to it. And then we're going to dry this a little. And once it's dry, we're going to come back and add Candle Glow. I'm digging that. I love how it has this dark line here. Oops, I messed it up, didn't I? I love the highs and lows of the color. All right. Yes, you can always watch. I'm going to mess up your name, but I'm going to say Cherie Shire. I don't know how I said that, and I apologize. That's a great idea, Catherine. I apologize if I messed that up. But yes, you'll always be able to come back and watch a replay. All right. So I'm going to rinse my brush out real quick. I'm going to grab my heat gun. We're going to get this color dry so that we can add, thank you, Cheryl, so that we can add our glow, our candle glow, without it blending in with our blue. So we're just going to get this all dried up. This is going to be fun, y'all, because I don't even know what I'm going to do. Once we get the candle on, I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen after that. So y'all's guess is going to be as good as mine. Yay, Gary! Welcome. Yeah, there's no such thing as a safe place. I tell myself that all the time. I'm going to put this in a safe place so I'll know where to find it. Nope. Never happens. Never happens. Okay, that's a little warm, so we don't want to paint over that while it's warm because it'll dry and grab that paint really quickly. But I do want to give it a second. Yay, Shire. I love that. Sherry, I don't even remember what I said the first time, if that tells you anything about my state of mind. So, yours are so safe, you'll never find me, and that's hilarious. I want to kind of mark where I'm going to put my, where I know my flame is going to be. I'm just really going to tuck in my carbon paper and just make a couple of little marks, just so I kind of have an indication where that flame is going to be. I don't want to do it. I don't want to trace out the entire flame because I am going to use like something like this for my flame. I may paint it out and then add that on top. We'll see. I'll show you how to cut your own flame as well. This is called tracing paper. You can buy it in a pad at Hobby Lobby, like this, tracing paper. I buy it when it's on sale, on clearance. Hello, Arkansas. So now I'm going to take a plate. Let me grab a paint plate. And I'm going to add just a little bit of metallic gold. This is Splendid Gold by Deco Art. It's my favorite metallic gold. I'm going to add a little bit to my plate. I don't need much because we're not doing a lot, okay? And I'm going to grab a dry brush. That's going to be difficult because all my brushes are wet. Let me find one that's dry. Okay. Jan, it's a heat gun that I bought on Amazon. I'm going to use it again in a minute, so I'll show you. So I'm going to grab a dry brush, okay? And I'm going to dip that dry brush into my gold. And I'm just going to swirl it around on my brush so that I get a little bit of gold on my brush, but I don't want it to be like painted on. I want it to be a very light glow. So you're going to just get a little on the tips and then just smush it into your brush. So now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to make kind of a circle around where I know that my flame is going to be. So I'm just going to come out. And it's a very light glow of color. Might be a little bit more. Don't get too much on your brush or it ends up being really harsh. You want it to barely show because when you get the resin on there, it's going to really pop better. So just make sure you offload a good bit. Come around and just keep kind of scrubbing it in until you get a little bit of that metallic glow. So I'm going to show you that close up so you can kind of see how faint it is. You don't want it to be super obvious. Thank you, Rebecca. So let me rinse that real quick. And now I'm going to hit that with a blow dryer just for 2 seconds, just to make sure that is dry. And while I'm doing that, I will show you that what we are using is called a Seek 1 heat gun from Amazon. All right? And it has 2 speeds, so I love it, or 2 settings. So I'm just going to hit that for just 2-3 seconds. Because I put it on so thin, it shouldn't be wet much at all, but I just want to make sure. Now, this is what you saw, I drew on my actual canvas. I drew what I wanted on my actual canvas. Then I laid my tracing paper over the top and just re-sketched it on tracing paper so that I would be able to do this. So I'm just going to tape down my tracing paper with a little bit of tape. Then we're going to use that like a hinge. Oh, Edie, no way. It's time to get started, boo. So now I'm going to grab my carbon paper, graphite paper, whatever you want to call it. Depends on how old you are, probably. I'm going to grab one more little piece of tape because this seems a little wiggly down here. And I am going to scooch in my graphite paper, and I'm just going to trace over. I'm not going to trace my flame. I think I'm going to freehand that and then put my glass flame over the top. But I do include that, so if you're a member, and you don't have that access to that glass, you can paint that. So I'm just going to trace over my candle. We'll trace that little waxy area first, that drippage. And then I'm just going to come down, all the way down, and you can see my line is not perfectly straight. So if you want your line, your candle perfectly straight, you might want to use a ruler or an edge. And then I'm going to come in, and I'm just going, these are just some little evergreen. So I'm just going to do that main branch on this one, and I'm going to do the main branch on this one. And then I have a little holly branch, and then another holly branch. I'm not going to do my beads. I'm not going to trace those because it's super hard to retrace over them with paint. And then here's my main branch for that little piece of evergreen. So then we'll use a brush to do the little baby strokes all around and to fill in our berries. So we should have 3 lines on this side and 3 lines on that side, which is terrible because that makes me crazy having even numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, so now that I can see all of my elements are traced on, I can take off my tracer. Never take it off till you check that, because it's super hard to get it lined back up, especially if you're using regular copy paper. So we'll set this aside over here and this. And I am going to start by painting my candle red. Now it may take a couple of coats. That's why we're going to start with the red, so we can get that red on and let it be drying while we do other things and then come back. So I'm using cherry red. It's my favorite red. We'll get a little of that on our plates. And I'm going to use a medium-sized brush. Not too big, not too small. I don't know what size this is. It is just about a 1/4 inch because I'm terrible with my brushes, and you can see all the stuff is peeling off. It'll probably peel right off onto my canvas. So we're going to go into our red, and I'm just going to fill in. I'm not going to do that waxy, drippy area because I'm going to paint that white, and then we're going to add some seed beads there, if we can, on top of the glass. But I'm going to paint right around And I really want to make sure that my tracer line is covered with paint, because the glass that I'm going to put on top is clear. So I want that line covered up so you don't see it when the clear glass goes on. So we're going to come down. I have to hold my mouth right. I'm going to turn this sideways a little bit so I can get right up to this edge. All right. So we're just going to finish out this candle with this first coat of red, because I can tell already we're going to need a second coat. So I'm going to really quickly get the middle done. That's the easy part. Let's get that red on. It is a pretty red, isn't it? It's perfect for Christmas. So now I'm going to come right along the edge and try to keep a somewhat of a straight line. I'm really bad at that. We'll do our best. This is one of those wonky candles that's been in the attic for a few years. That's not perfectly straight. And I see I got red right there, which is also fairly typical. We're going to get that off with the Gina white. So I am just going to bring it down, and we'll just stop. We're going to have other things down here and it'll be hidden. So we're just going to make a hard stop there. I'm going to go this way. And I'm going to make sure I hit that line. Ooh. My tummy's growling. I have to be really quiet because, you know, I will mess it up if I try to talk and do it at the same time. Oh, I said a Gina white because that is my friend and one of my members who, her family makes these. It's an art white for mixed media, and it is really good for getting paint off of things, off your hands. They're good for cleaning your tools when you use resin. But you can see it took that red dot, there's another red dot, right off of there. So it's really good for cleaning your hands too. Thank you, Wendy. So the girl who sadly makes these, her name is Gina, so I called it a Gina white. So while that dries, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna put my brush in the water first. I'm gonna add a little bit of avocado green to my plate. And I'm gonna get a liner brush. I need a somewhat of a small liner brush because we're gonna do these little evergreens. And so I'm using what I like to call an eyelash liner. It's tiny. It's got the tiniest little hairs. So I'm gonna go in, I wanna make sure it's kind of wet. And I'm gonna go in to my green, and I'm just gonna mix some of that water into that green so I have a nice loose flow of paint. And then see how I'm like taking my brush and just kind of twirling it out. So I have a good bit of paint on my brush, but it's not so overloaded that it drips on your art piece. I buy my brushes from Hobby Lobby when they're on sale because I'm hard on my brushes. And that is brown, that is brown, that is brown. These bottom three are green. I gotta remember that. I'm super hard on my brushes, and so I'm hard pressed to buy expensive ones because I'm bad. And then I'll be mad at myself. So I know my faults. I know my weaknesses, so I just embrace it and buy cheap brushes so that I'm not upset with myself when they get ruined. So I'm going to go back in, and I made a really thin line with that green, okay, with this brush. So I'm going to go here and do the same thing. I'm just barely touching the tips. That creates a really nice thin line. All right. So now this one is also green. So I'm going to do the same thing. I dip it in, kind of twirl my paint around on my brush, and then twirl it around so that it's not heavy loaded. So I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. I'm trying to follow my tracer line as well as I can. So I'm going really slow so I don't mess up, because I will. But it's just paint. Keep that in mind. That it really, you know, there's no such thing as messing it up really. It's just paint. You can let it dry, paint over it, whatever you need to do. Okay, so I'm going to grab some brown, and I'm going to do the same thing with these three things, because that is like a little holly branch, so that's going to be like a stick. So we're going to use the brown for that. So I'm going to wet my brush again, and go into that brown with a little bit of a wetter brush, and just kind of load all that brown onto my brush, get it all in those bristles. And then I'm going to work it out a little bit. I'm twisting and turning as I pull it out so there's not an excess of brown in my brush. I think that's dry enough for me to do this. So I'm going to start at the edge, and I'm just going to pull down. And you can push your brush down hard a little bit to make a thicker line and then pull it back up. What you don't want is a perfect line, because this is a stick. And I don't know if you've seen a perfectly straight stick before, but I sure haven't. So push down, raise up so that you end up with a stick that is kind of fat and skinny, fat and skinny, fat and skinny. Kind of like me over the last 10 years of my life. Okay, so I digress. Let's do this. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here. Press down to make it fatter. Pull up to make it skinnier. Press down again. Let's grab a little more paint. Press down, pull up, press down. Wiggle, wiggle to make that branch. So it's never perfect. Let's get it in and do one more. Twirl that around, get it really good and loaded. Come over here and do the same thing. Press down to make it fat, then pull back up. The pressing down does use a little bit more paint, so you might have to reload, but don't worry. All you gotta do is get some more paint on there. All right, so that is our three little holly branches, and then these are gonna be our little evergreens. So, real quick, I'm gonna grab another brush, and I'm gonna paint right here where the tip of that candle, it's like it's melted and running down. I'm gonna grab a little bit of white. I'm gonna paint that white. Ooh, that was excessive. And I'm just gonna use a round brush. And just get that white on there. I'm going to turn it upside down for my sake so I don't make a mess. So I'm going to get that white on. And I'm going to come down here where it's dripping. Just pull it back upward. So that is like the tip of our candle. Great. You can even like make some more drips if you want. Like you can make another little drip. whatever you want to do. Super cute. So now we need to get that dry so that we can do a couple of things. One is, actually before we do that, I'm going to do a little bit of a flame, not much, because I am going to use a piece of glass for my flame, but let's add a little bit of something there just for fun. I'm going to grab some of this gold, and I'm just going to make a little flame. It'll also cover my tracer line, and any of it that's bigger than my actual piece of glass will just look like it's glowing. So we'll just add a little bit of that gold where our flame is. Super cool. That is splendid gold. All right. Rinse and repeat. Okay, so obviously I should have put that little drip there before I did my red again, because we do need a second coat of red. So I'm going to do that real quick. And I'm just going to work around that little dot, because that red is really thin. It doesn't really cover perfectly on the first coat. So you are going to have to do a second almost every time. Hello, Maria, and welcome. Thanks for coming and hanging out. And if you're new here, I just want to let you know that we are here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central. I had to stop talking for a minute, hold my mouth right. We're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. making a new and fabulously fun piece of art. Let me go around my little white drip. I shouldn't have done that, but we're going to work with it. Well, let's just get that second coat of red. Then we'll get this dried and start on our little evergreen. We'll add some berries, and then we're going to add some glass and some, who knows? We've got so much fun stuff on the table to choose from. There's no telling what might end up on this art piece. So just get some more red. We will almost dripped the biggest hunk of red ever. That was almost a disaster. No problem. Almost done, guys. These second coats can be kind of boring, but it's got to be done. Got to be done. All right. So I'm going to grab my heat gun, and we're going to get this dry. Hey, Carol. Welcome as well. I'm going to hit this with my heat gun real quick just to get everything dry, because I'm notorious for running my hand through the wet paint. Thank you, Gwen. I appreciate that. It's relaxing for me as well. So just so I don't run my hand through it, because I'm a hot mess, and that will happen. Hey, Lee. Thank you. So we're just going to get this red dry and that white up there at the top too. We may need a little bit more white as well. That won't be in our way for doing our other things down at the bottom. It's cherry red. So let me grab, I'm going to do a little more white at the top. Now we're putting glass over the top of this as well, but I want it to be very much drippy. All right, hang on, I gotta hold my mouth right. All right, okay. So now I'm gonna take that same little eyelash brush that I just showed you, teeny tiny incy wincy little eyelash hairs. Hello, Suzanne. Thank you for the star, Sherry. And I'm gonna work on these green ones first, the evergreens, okay? I would always drag my hand right through it. So I'm gonna wet my brush again. I'm gonna go in to this avocado green. I'm gonna twirl my brush in the color. I'm gonna scoot that over so you can see what I'm doing. And I am just gonna go crazy. I'm just going to start adding just strokes of fur, okay? The little needles, pine needles, whatever. So I'm gonna start at the end and just come in. You might have to load up a couple of times. And don't be worried about overlapping. So we're just gonna come in and be very organic. Don't make them all perfect. They should be varying sizes. They should be some fatter, some skinnier, some go in one direction, some go in the other. So we'll make this one longer. Need a little bit more water. Thank you, Desiree. So we're just gonna keep doing that. Need a little more water, a little more paint. Roll it to a point. Make you some little pine needles all the way down. Do the other side real quick. So you need a really nice teeny weeny brush for this. So you're not making big lines. You want little baby lines. All right, I think we're good. So we gotta do this side. So I'm gonna start at the top and just come down and start adding little needles. And don't worry about overlapping, like I said. And don't worry about how long or short they are. Nothing in nature is perfect, so don't even try. And to me, the more wonky they are, I don't want to go over the top of my candle because I am going to put glass down for my candle, so I want it to look like it's kind of coming from behind the candle, not in front. So we'll add some more on this side. See how I made kind of a big fat mess there? Don't even care. Just gonna keep going. Don't worry about your mistakes, just embrace them. Nothing's perfect. All right, so now we have this last one. I'm gonna turn this sideways a little bit. And we're just gonna do minimal to that because most of this is gonna be covered from here down. So we're gonna just add a few little crossovers. Need a little more water in my green. Crossovers. All right. Phew. Okay. Now we're going to take our brush, whatever brush. I'm just going to grab one, and I'm going to take the end of that brush, and I'm going to dip it in my red. And I am going to make myself some holly berries. Just add a couple here and there, varying sizes, varying amounts. Voila. All right, so we'll do the same over here. I'm gonna have to turn it because I should have started over there, because now I'll run my hand in there. Barely, Betty, barely. So we'll add dots. Dot, dot, dot. We'll do 2 dots this time. And we'll do 1 dot, and then we'll do 3 again. We have 1 more. We'll do 1 dot, 2 dots. I like to change it up. Doesn't really matter. You do what you like. All right, we're gonna get that dry. I'm gonna hit that with a dryer a little bit because I do want to come back with my stylus, which is that teeny tiny little ballpoint thingy, and hit that with a little bit of white. So I'm gonna get these dots dry at least for the most part. Then we're gonna do a little detail work. Yes, they will. Yeah, that's the best way to do it, Gail. All right, so that's fairly dry. So while that's finishing drying, I'm gonna add a teeny bit of black to my palette. I don't need much, just a little dot. And I'm gonna grab a brush that is fairly decent sized. I don't want it to be too wide. Let me go back to this. I'm gonna grab this brush, which is, let me look, a size 12. It's a little bit longer, and that's not why I'm using it. I'm just using it for the width, and it's got a little bit of water in it. I'm gonna dip one little corner. I want to show you how much. One little corner into that black. Then I'm going to go back and forth. And I'm going to come down one edge of my candle. Oh, I don't have enough water. It really needs to have a decent amount of water in it so it doesn't make a harsh line. We're just going to come down one edge just to give it a little dimension. And I'll show you the difference that makes if and when I can ever get it right. I'm going to start down here and go upward. So it actually gives your candle a little bit of dimension. As you can see, let me go up a little. How that kind of changes the candle. It gives it a little shading on that side. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna wet my brush again, leave it fairly wet, get a little paint on the corner, not too much. And I'm gonna come around the right side of this drip. I'm just gonna start at the top. I'm gonna bring that brush right around the right side of that little drip. The right side of that little drip, just a little bit. All right, so you can see now it's really starting to kind of pop and looking a little dimensional. All right, I'm gonna rinse that black off. And I'm going to take just the tiniest bit of red, put it on my palette, go into my white. Can you see my palette? A little bit of red. I'm going to go into my white, a little bit of white. I want kind of a pinky color. I don't want it to be solid red, but I don't want it to be white either. And I'm going to come on this side of my candle and just add a little bit of that pinky mixed with white highlight. I'm going to come on this side of my candle too. Let me grab a little bit more. We're going to come on this side of the drippy. So that really gives it dimension. Does that help? Can you see that, what we did there? Looks super cool now. Kind of a three-dimensional look. So now, while we still have our white here, I'm going to grab my stylus. You can use anything pointy. You can use a ballpoint pen. You can use a toothpick, whatever. But I want to give my little red dots a little dimension as well. So I'm going to take my white on my tiny little stylus, and I'm just going to go in and add a tiny dot, dot, dot to each one of these little berries. Just the tiniest little dot. Nothing fancy, nothing too special. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. I'll set up, boom, chicka boom. Just a little bit. Boom, almost done. Boom, 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 boom. Voila. So check that out. Woohoo! Love it. Love it, love it. I'm gonna set my plate aside. I'm done with paint. I'm going to hit this with a blow dryer just to get that dried up a little bit, and then we're going to use our famous graphic marker to do a little bit of detail, and then we get to start on the fun stuff. So let me hit this real quick. Just don't want any of those dots to smear. Right? Now I'm going to use my pen to just do a little bit of outlining. Nothing fancy. This is Master's Touch brand from Hobby Lobby, and it is called a graphic illustration marker 0.5. Okay? So I'm going to take that marker, and it's a tiny little, just a fine marker. You can see here how fine the lines are. And I'm going to go right around, short strokes around my flame. I'm going to bring that wick down about to there. I'm going to add some strokes around my drip. I'll do that one too. I'm going to come down the sides. I like short, 1 inch-ish or less strokes. And I'm not even trying to stay in the lines. We're going to come down here, go around our little stem, and I'm just going to make a few little parentheses around our berries. Just a half circle. We're going to come here. We're going to add some strokes in our pine needle. We're just going to add a few more needles with our pen. So we'll add a few more just filler strokes. All right, let's come over here, do the same. We'll just add a little line or two in the stem. And then do parentheses around the berries, or like not a parenthesis, just a half parentheses. One little mark. Boom, 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 boom. Now we'll come here, we'll come down our pine needles and just add in just wild and random. Don't try to place them perfect. Just add some more needles in there. And it kind of helps fill in. And that's what you end up with. So it kind of helps highlight details, and it just gives it that little bit of a finishing touch. So now let's get to the good stuff. What do you say? All right, so I showed you earlier, but some of you might not have been here. For the candle, I'm gonna add some of these glass strips that I've totally destroyed and ruined trying to cut my glass, and that's gonna be kind of wonky right there. Maybe I'll just add one. Let me try to decide what I want to do here. I know I need to cut it, so I'm gonna take my marker, and I'm just gonna make a little mark right there, because I'm gonna use my scoring tool to, what did I put my hand in? To see where I made that line. I need to score there so I can break it. So I'm just gonna score across. And then because it's a longer piece, I can just break it super easy. So I'm thinking, trying to decide if I want to use both pieces or if I just want I think I'm going to use both, because I can add seed beads there where it's kind of weird. So I'm going to score here as well. I'll break that. So that is going to go there, okay? So I'm not going to place it there. I'm not going to glue it down yet, because what I'll do is add some resin, and then we'll lay this in the resin and then put this back on top. We're going to use a little nip of glass for our flame. And I'm going to show you real quick how I did that. So I buy sheet glass at Hobby Lobby, only when it's on sale. And this is a portion of the sheet glass that I was using, okay? So that comes in 12-inch squares. So what I do is I want to move this out of the way. I take my wheeled nippers, and all I have to do is come in and onto my, can you see what I'm doing? I gotta catch up. And just squeeze, and it makes, I could move up about an inch, and it makes these nice little shapes that you can use as fur, as leaves, as hair, as candle flames, however you want to use them. This is a great big one. This would be a doozy of a candle flame, but that broke off really nicely when I was breaking some pieces. Let me grab my little vacuum and vacuum up that grit. I don't want to cut myself. No glass nips. So that's what I did to create my cute little flame that we're going to use. Yay! Okay. I'm going to flip it the other way because I like it this way. But I don't even mind that you see some of that gold on the outside. This is going to be fine. Okay? So I know I'm going to put that here. I'm going to set it aside. I know I'm going to put that here. I'm going to set that aside. Right now we're going to focus on this part. Okay? I feel like I need to leave this here for this part too, though. So we may have to do that. I'm going to start adding some glass. We may have to pull this out and suck it back in. Thank you, Georgia. So I'm going to add some glass to the bottom, and I'm going to start with green reflective. I buy it on sale at my Hobby Lobby all the time. The sheet glass, it's on sale about 30% off about once a month or so. So I'm going to turn my canvas a little so it's just easier for me to add this. So I'm just going to add some of this green down at the bottom. And I will have to kind of tuck it back in to this. Well, it does on mine. I don't buy it unless it's on sale. So you need to come to Mississippi. I'm going to add a little bit more green. Then I'm going to add some clear because I can. Just add a few little nuggets here and there. So now I have clear or starfire. And we'll just give a little bit of that. I like to use this when I want to add more glass, but I don't want it to cover up my work. So I'm going to add more glass just right in here. I don't like these great old big pieces. I'm just going to add some right on the top because I want to put some ornaments on here, I think. We're going to put something fun, all right? So we're going to have trouble probably adding that, dealing with that glass, but we'll figure it out. All right, so I'm going to add a few more green nuggets here and there. So now what we want to do is decide how we're going to decorate this as we go, okay? So here's what I brought to the dance. I brought a little sprig of these, which I don't think I'm going to use unless I just decide to stick one in to add to the ones that we already have. I brought some ornaments, some of these mini ornaments. I have, this one's kind of a blue-green, and then we have clear, and then I have a red one. I also have some of this Mercury red glass. I have little baby pine cones. I have these little mermaid beads. I have all kinds of stuff. So I really just need to kind of try to figure out what I want to do. And I'm thinking that these ornaments, although I love them and I think they would be spectacular, I think, let's put them in. I'm thinking they're going to be a little bit too much. They're going to be a little bit too big for this situation. Let's stick them in here and take a look-see. Let me look at it. It's not terrible. It's not terrible. And we could always come in and add in like some red and some green. So, but I still think they're a little big. I wish they were a little bit smaller, like all of them were this size, but I do think they're a little big. So I'm going to stick those back, and I am going to start with, okay, I love these. These came in a string from Michael's. I love them. So I think I'm going to start with adding maybe 2 of those in my glass. They're so super cool. Then we're going to add some pine cones. I love these pine cones. They come in a whole package. There's hundreds of them in a little package from Hobby Lobby. So I think we can set a couple of those in. Let's wiggle that glass around a little. I'll put 3 of those in. Now I have red beads, guys. Got all kinds of goodies over here. I have these red beads we can throw in. Let me get some into my hand. So we could just grab up 2 or 3 and just throw them right in, or not. Let me throw a little glue in there. This is how I love to do it. Just fly by the seat of your pants, right? I'm gonna stick a little bit of glue right in the center of those pine cones to hold my beads where I want them to stay, because they're round and roly-poly. So we have 1, 2, 3 little beads. I'm going to flip the hole down and Super cute. I'm going to show this close up because I know it's kind of hard to see. So let me show you that kind of close up. You can see what's happening just in the Christmas section. I bought mine last year, so I don't know 100%, but it's just in the Christmas section is all I know. So now we can like come over here. Let's see if we have one more of those little green things. If not, I'm looking through my little basket of goodies. If not, we can grab up just some green glass and let's do this. I'm gonna grab like 3 or 4 little green nips. Let's do 3. Let's find another decent sized one. All of these little nips I'm kind of scrounging around through are I cut the same way I did the candle flame. Okay, they're just little green nips. So I have 3 of them. So I think I'm gonna just kind of stick a couple of them like right here. Then we can add some more little beads. Little dots of red. Just set that there. So let's grab 3 beads. This is so much fun, y'all. I love it when I don't really have a plan and I can just kind of do whatever makes sense while it's happening. Oh, that's not a green bead, but I mean a red bead, but we're gonna leave it there. Speaking of which, let's just add in a couple of green beads here and there since I have them out. And we'll add a couple more little red wherever. All right, now in my hand, I can see that I have some bubbles. So we're gonna grab those out because I have so many like little cute baggies of things. I'm just gonna drop some bubbles onto the canvas. That way I don't have to dig for my bubble bag in a minute. Boom. Now let's try one more little thing. I have several things still over here. I think I'm not gonna use this. We're gonna toss this aside. We're not gonna use that, but I do want to add a little something green there. So let me just grab a few more little green bits because it looks like that's kind of floating and I don't want it to do that. And that piece of glass is terrible. So now let's check this out and see if maybe we can throw in a little bit of these red. Come out of there. Let me get him. These little red nips from a vase. I love these red nips. And we may add just a few in. These came from a vase I got at Hobby Lobby. Let me show it to you. This is just a vase from Hobby Lobby and I nipped it down with my nips and made a bunch of curvy shaped glass for petals and stuff. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of that in my candle. Ow! I obviously didn't sand that one down. It just poked me. We'll add a little bit of that. Then I want to do one more thing. Y'all, I know, am I killing y'all too? I'm killing myself. I'm going to get a couple more of these little green beads and just toss them right in there where that red is. Now let me show you this close up so you can see what we have going on here. I got to clear out my space because I got a lot of stuff over here, y'all. A lot of stuff. I need to move it all away. And don't think we're done because we still have these that we're gonna probably use after we resin. All right, there's a red bead there. Might add just right in there. Okay, so look at this up close and personal. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Just a pile of goodies. Just a pile of goodies. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and resin, okay? I'm gonna move this off. We're gonna resin everything that's on here. I'm gonna have to probably lift that up and squeeze a little bit of resin under the glass, maybe. I may just leave it be. Once that's done, we're gonna add some white seed beads just in this general area and like it's dripping down the glass candle. And then we'll probably throw in a little bit of this red right around here, okay? So let's decide how much we need. Let's see. I lost my pusher-uppers too. Where are my... Okay, so I'm gonna grab my gloves. I don't know where my little blocks are that elevate my canvas. I may just have to deal with that after. But I think I'm gonna mix up 2 ounces. It may be too much. Thank you, Catherine. It may be too much. Catherine, can you tell Natalia how to get a notification for our lives? 2 ounces may be too much, but if it is, I've always had something on the table that I can add resin to. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a 2 ounce pour. Where are my cups? So I like to use these little baby cups when I'm live. I don't really use these when I'm doing larger pieces or when I'm doing a bunch. But I like to use these little baby cups. These are embossed so well, I barely even have to mark them. But I'm gonna do a line where the 1 ounce is. And on this one, such a good embossing. I'm gonna do a line where the 1 ounce is. So I'll know exactly how much to mix. Then what I'll do, I'll pour it in these cups. Then I'll pour both of those mixtures in here and stir it up. So I'm gonna mix on a block because I don't have but one of these for some reason, because my canvas is not perfectly level for some reason. So we're gonna start with art resin, which is a 2-part epoxy resin made specifically for art. It's a 50-50 mix, so we are gonna use 1 ounce of hardener in this cup. This is gonna be way too much, but y'all, I've got crosses and Christmas trees out the Yahoo on the other side of the room that need resin, so it'll be okay. I do use it over and over and over until it's just unusable. Okay, so there is my hardener. So I'm gonna get my cup for my resin. We'll pour right into there, resin. When it gets close to that line, you better slow your roll because it's really easy to have too much. That is why I always encourage new people to mix or to measure in 2 cups and then pour them into 1 mix cup, because it is super, super easy to make a mistake. All right, so I'm gonna use, I really want my skinny knife, but I don't see it either. I've been trying to clean off my desk, but I don't know. I don't know where it went, babe. It's like a palette knife, like a plastic white knife. So I'm just gonna scrape all of the resin and the hardener into my mix cup. Just scrape it in. Make sure you get it all out, all that you can. Don't leave any deliciousness behind. Yeah, just sit it down there, thank you. All right, so you can wipe that out with your wipe and reuse that. Just wipe it out. Then you can hit it with a little paper towel and reuse that cup. So now we're gonna get the resin or the hardener, whichever one. We'll get all that into our mix cup. Scrape it all out, get all the goodies. All right, so you can wipe that one out as well. Just clean it out, get a paper towel. I would have put them on before I resined and just resined over the top. I think I did that. I did that in something else. Well, I did that in our November project, so you'll get to see how that works. Okay, so now we have to mix this for 3 minutes. So I'm gonna just take my tool and I'm just gonna fold it over on itself and stir gently for 3 minutes. Catherine's gonna time me and let me know when it's all ready. So you're gonna scrape the bottom of the bowl, scrape the sides, and get all that stuff mixed up really nicely. Oh, so anybody have any questions while I'm just staring at the computer screen? Mix, mix, mix. Abby says, if I need to apply resin a second time on a project, do I need to lightly sand the piece first? Only in the areas that are like where there's no glass, and only if it's been more than 24-ish hours. If it's been less than 24 hours, just re-resin right over it. If it's been longer, especially if it's been 72 hours or more, that resin's cured, you will need to scuff it up a little bit to do that second resin. Stir, 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 scrape, scrape, scrape. It is called, somebody gifted it to me, and it is called a Tihoo, T-I-H-O-O. And I have no idea where it came from, probably Amazon, but it was a gift from one of my loves, one of my members, one of my peoples. And it is spectacular. It's really great for cleaning up your area. Pam, the tool I'm using is called a silicone applicator, and it's actually started, we found it in the makeup department. It's for makeup actually, but you can buy these on Amazon, at the dollar store. You can buy them in Hobby Lobby, but it's just a silicone applicator. Somebody tell Christy what sprinkling means, because if I say it out loud, I'll get in trouble. Facebook is a jealous boyfriend. Yes, the sand marks will disappear, Ella. These little things are fantastical. They're really awesome. I buy them on Amazon. I think I bought like a 10-pack for like $7 or $8. Marcia said she mixed too much resin but had extra flowers ready. There's a big puddle around the flower. If it's dry already, it's just too late. You're gonna have to just deal with it. And it happens to me sometimes too. Don't stress about it, it's fine. But to keep that from happening in the future, you wanna put your resin on the glass first, and then pull that excess that tends to puddle around your glass. You wanna pull that away from your glass with your little brush so that you don't end up with that. And the reason that happened, probably, Marcia, is because your canvas wasn't tight. So if you find that you have a canvas that is kind of loose, you can mist the backside of your canvas with a little bit of water and let it dry, and that will tighten up your canvas. Kathy, I do not do in-person classes right now. I didn't do them because of COVID once I had my space, but we are going to start in-person classes in April. I've been saying that for a long time, but we are finally getting a classroom space. So we will be starting that in April here in the Mississippi. Jennifer, check your email because you would have been emailed a link from The Shattered Circle. So check your email for an email from The Shattered Circle. If you still can't find it, just email me at info@artshattered.com and we'll get you taken care of. If you have an 8-ounce measuring cup, can you measure both resin and hardener together instead of 2? Okay, yes, you can. But I'm going to tell you this, Cindy. If you are new to mixing resin, I do not suggest doing that because it is super easy to over pour one or the other. And once you, like if you pour a perfect 4 ounces of hardener and then you, in the same exact cup, over pour the resin to where you have more than 4 ounces of resin, then it's super hard to figure out how much more hardener you need to use. Does that, I see you, Catherine. So it's really, if you're new at mixing and measuring resin, I would suggest doing it in 2 cups and then pouring in your mixed cup. Just for that reason, because it's super easy to mess that up. Okay, so I'm gonna push this up a little because I'm gonna start down here with my glass and I'm gonna drizzle my resin on my glass area. Catherine knows I get to talking and that's the end of that. So I'm gonna start on the bottom right side. I'm gonna work my way up and then over. I always start in one area and make sure it's completely covered before I move to the left or to the top. Because it's really hard to mess up if you're not meticulous about that. May add some more bubbles too. I'm feeling bubbly. So make sure you get all your stuff, especially if you have things piled up like I do. I have a pretty good bit of stuff just piled one thing on top of the other. So I'm going to be super generous with my drippage so I can make sure everything is covered nicely. Now, I like to just pull these off real quick and then put them back in a minute because they do tend to shed debris. Let go. They do tend to shed debris. And so I like to get the resin on my piece and then just nestle them down in the resin. And you can wiggle some of this stuff around if it moves. But if you pour the resin right on it, sometimes it just gets little brown debris, icky dirt and stuff on your canvas. Then you have to try to pick it out. So let me get this area done really well. Then I'm going to put my little pine cones back. I do want to make sure that where I'm putting them, there's plenty of resin. So now I can nestle it right back in and right back in. I'm going to take my little thing, push that back over, and then we'll nestle that one right back in. So it's touching the resin, but it's not covered in resin, so it doesn't like get brown, dirty stuff everywhere. I'm going to hit my little beads, my little, Lord, I can't talk. Let me get the resin off my little pick. So I'm going to go up. I really need to make sure I get some resin underneath this glass because it will seep under there. And if I don't get it under there really well, it's going to have pockets of resin. So I'm going to mess with this just a little bit. I'm going to get some resin on the rest of my canvas. Then we'll futz with that glass a little bit, and then we're going to get some seed beads on. I'm going to hit this a little, bring that to the edge. Boom, boom, boom. It's been a long while, hadn't it? I apologize. I don't normally try not to do things that take so long, but somehow this did take longer than I expected. So I'm just going to kind of scoop up under here, and I'm going to push a little resin right in to that area, and then I'll let my glass back down. And I'm going to flip it and do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just going to kind of scoop, see if I can scoop my little tool under there. I don't want to mess up the bottom, but I'm going to try to squinch some resin, squinch, under my glass. We'll drop it back down, put it back in place. Let's turn it back around. Perfect. I do see a couple little bubbles under there, but I don't mind at all because it kind of looks like wax. It kind of looks waxy. I'll show that to you shortly. So I'm going to push that resin around everywhere else, make sure my entire canvas is covered. Then I'm probably going to use my hands. I do have a little bit of resin left. I'm going to guess that I have about half an ounce of resin left. So that was probably 1.5 ounces that it took to create this piece. I'm gonna use my fingers and just go right around those edges and hit anywhere where I see a skippy. Go around the edge here. All right, so now I'm going to take my flame, and I did kind of hone the edges so it's not super sharp. I'm going to get a little bit of resin on my flame, just kind of rub it in, and then I'm just going to place that flame right on top of the painted flame. I'm going to scoot it over to one side a little, so you can see the painted flame and the glass flame. Now I see a little something here that does not belong. So I'm going to scoop that up. We got debris. We had debris. And, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to take my gloves off. And I'm going to hit this with a heat gun real quick to pop some bubbles. And then we're going to play around it a little bit more before we're done. Okay, so I'm going to hit my heat gun, get my heat gun. I'm just going to pop some of those bubbles that we created, mix in our resin. Don't blow your pine cones off. All right, super cool. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to micromanage this a little bit, but I'm going to add some seed beads. These are called Bead Treasure seed beads, and the color is white Ceylon. I'm going to add some to a little cup. And I'm going to turn this sideways a little bit because I want to, where I added that the drippage, I want to add some of these seed beads to that area. And I'm not going to worry too much if they get out of hand because I can use my little tool to get them under control. So I'm going to put a few here, and a few here, set it aside. I'm going to use my little jewelry pick. It's like a little baby toothpick. And I'm going to push those into shape. Make sure they're all where I want them to be. and not where I don't. So let's just kind of move them around. Get them where you want them. Normally wouldn't be this like particular, but I do want them just in that drip area. So, boom. That is so cool. I do see a little skippy right here. I'm gonna just kind of use my toothpick to fill it in. Now I'm gonna grab a wipe and get the sticky off my little toothpicky thing and my fingers where I had my gloves on that had resin on them. All right, so now I still have some little seed beads in here. So I'm gonna come down here to the bottom. I'm just gonna sprinkle in a few of these seed beads wherever I see fit, wherever my little heart desires, and you should do the same. Put them where you want them. Don't put them anywhere, wherever you want, okay? So now I'm gonna take another little cup and I'm gonna add some red seed beads. These are, hang on. It was just what I had, Ella. It was 2 broken pieces that I had on hand. Are these not open? Dagnabbit. Hang on. I gotta open these seed beads. It was just what I had on hand, so I just used it. It was perfect size. Ugh, I can't get these open. I need a, hey. I need a box knife or something. I can't get, these things are taped down. I think they're super glued down, but I can't get it off. So while he is getting that, I'm gonna put these white ones back in the bucket. All right, white ones away, box knife, thank you. You gotta really be magical about getting this tape off of the tube or you'll never get the top off. There we go. So now let's try again. Ugh. I'm gonna add just a few, not a lot, because these are bigger. This is the size 60 and it is dark red seed beads, all right? And I'm gonna put this here so I know I used it. And I'm just gonna take a few in my fingers and just add a few of these red beads. I like them in threesies. Wherever I feel like, and you could actually add them, watch this. I'm not gonna add them to every stem, everything, but watch, I can take my little, voila. They're just the right size for that. Let's do 2 here. I don't wanna do them on every spot because that'll take forever. We're gonna do it in a couple of places. I'll do 1, 2 here, and 1, 2 here. This is a bigger size. And I'll do 1 there. And we'll do 3. And I will use my little tool. And just kind of wiggle them into place. So you could totally put them on every, we'll just leave that one there, on every bead if you wanted to, on every little red berry. I just don't want to take the time to do that live. And let's see, I think the last thing we need are a few more bubbles. So let me find my bubbles behind me. Oh no. Why do I hide my bubbles from myself? I don't know where my bubbles are, y'all. I don't have bubbles. Do you? Oh, thank you, darling. bubbles. So let's just take a small handful and just add bubbles here and there. You add them in your bottom layer, add them up your candle. Boom, boom. Check it out. Oh my goodness, y'all, this is spectacular. Look at this. I'm going to try to show it to you up close. So this is the bottom. You can see how great that looks. I'm going to let the screen catch up so I can see what you see. So that is the bottom of our little candle. And then you can see that air bubble. See that air bubble right there, but it totally looks like drippy wax to me. So we're not going to stress about that at all. So then you can see all the greenery, all our little bubbles. You can see where the wax is melting down, where I added those seed beads. And our flame for our candle. Oh my gosh, y'all, that's so cute. All right.